Hi and welcome to Real Opinions. Today we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones, so we're going to be kind of going through all of the sixth season, we think, this time. And we're going to be going through each week talking about the episodes. And so this was the first the premiere, and it was The Red Woman. I think that was the title.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's...
The Game of Thrones season openings are kind of tricky because what they have to do with the season opening is basically remind you of how the last season ended, and they've got to sort of pick up every single plot line, because what they'll start doing in later episodes is focusing on like 2 or 3 per week. But for the first episode they always go, right, this is where everyone is at. They will give you everyone. So here you get where Tyrion's at, you get where Daenerys is at, you get where Arya is at, you get where all the stuff at Castle Black is, you get Dawn, you get everything. They want to introduce everything, Sansa, all of it. And what that can mean is that the episode ones sometimes feel a little bit like not as much happens, because it's just sort of reintroducing where everything is and kind of sort of establishing where it's going to go. And for that reason, I think people can be a little hard on episode ones, because they don't really get that they're necessary. They just sort of like, they want it to just, like, you can tell people with this one, they wanted to start with an answer to the Jon Snow thing. They wanted it to start with like major plot points. They wanted it to start with some amazing spectacle, and like that's not how Game of Thrones works.
No, and
I think that's what you're trying to say, is that we're not of the opinion that Game of Thrones is particularly slow. We appreciate that this stuff needs to be established so that you can have stuff like Hardhome.
Yeah.
Because if every episode was like that, I wouldn't care about the characters and I wouldn't care what was going on. I need it to actually build up. It would be cool, but this stuff needs to happen. And I think
it's just people just tend to... They don't appreciate the setup. They just want... And now that we've started getting, like...
Yeah, because we've had Hardhome and stuff now, it's like...
Because people have had
think that
the
it should be...
Yeah. They think that now it's like... They're kind of... it's kind of like with the... Like, if you think of it like a movie, like, you kind of go through the first act and the second act and it's setting stuff up, and then the third act, everything happens. And so people, they watch shows like this, and then they get, like, Hardhome, which for most films would be the third act and stuff like that, and then it goes back to talking.
Yeah.
And people are a bit, like, confused. I mean, this
is... For me, this is exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I expected.
If anything, more happened than I was expecting.
Actually, that's true, yeah, because we have, like, particularly with Dawn, they basically just go like, yep, it's done now, and they resolve the whole thing. So should we go through, like, plot lines?
Yeah, shall we just go through, like, places? Because that seems like...
places is much easier, you're right, definitely. So I suppose the main focus is Castle Black. Generally, I'd say it's like...
happens, but, I mean, well, it's just setting up the stalemate for what's going to happen. So it's basically that the men have found... Well, everyone's found out about Jon Snow.
And then the people still loyal to Jon Snow have found out what's happened. And one thing I did like, actually, with this, is that when Alistair Thorne got up there and said, like, yeah, we killed him, it wasn't like everybody in Castle Black was okay with it. There were people who were like, no, you traitor dick. Like, it proved that it wasn't just like everyone turned against... Everyone was irrational.
Like, it was a small group that did the killing as well.
Yeah.
Like,
it proved that it's not like they just characterised everybody in Castle Black as either anti-Jon Snow or pro-Jon Snow. It was like, it's actually complex, and there are different people within it who react differently. Yeah. And I did like that when he said that there were people who were against it. That, to me, that just made it feel less, I don't know, cheap, like they just...
And it made it feel less like a 50-50 good and evil. Like, it made it feel more like people were, like, they understood the reasoning for killing him, but at the same time they were against killing their leader, and it made it seem like much more realism rather than, like... And it also, it gave the impression that it's not just, like, it sets up that it's not just going to be now we've got this small group against the much large group, and then there's a bit more... And just lets it be a bit more human, I suppose, which I appreciate.
Actually, and going off that, I think the other thing that I like is that even Thorne and the traitors, they don't feel, to me anyway, they don't feel evil. They just feel stupid.
Yeah.
They're just idiots. They're not bad guys. They're just so set in their old ways that they just can't move on.
And I think it's also the fact that the way that we view the show, we view it through protagonist vision. So we see Jon Snow's the protagonist. He's definitely going to be right all of the time.
Yeah.
And so it's the fact that the way that they're seeing it is that they are literally letting in the people that has been against them for
killed
and like well with the Ollie thing. Is that it's sure? Yeah, he has seen his entire family killed by this civilization, so of course he's going to be a bit against it.
Well, that's more specifically with Ollie, and I think this is one thing that some people don't appreciate, is that Ollie saw all those people killed by the specific wildling that Jon Snow teams up with.
Yeah.
So it was like that. You can understand it. It's not just like he's got a blind hatred for them all. It's that Jon Snow did literally team up with the one that led that attack on the farm.
And there is so like, it's not like it's completely unjustified hatred, but at the same time, like it's a nice balance between the good and the evil, which of course the show does a lot of it on, and then so it's about Davos and the rest of the group. They're kind of locked in this room with Jon Snow's body, and it's basically just turned into a stalemate of whether they're going to come out. Yeah, they're told, oh, you can come out and surrender and you'll be fine and we'll let you out. But of course, it's not going to be like that. And now we're just kind of left into the next episode with like, what are they going to do with that situation?
So I guess next is that I suppose the next most major to me was probably the Sansa and Theon stuff. That's probably the next most major development here. So you start off with Ramsay. I like Ramsay. I've said that now. So you start off with Ramsay mourning Miranda, and you get that scene where it seems like they're developing him.
I think that they did do a job.
Okay, they did develop him, but they seem like they do humanise him to an extent, but I was very happy when they ended it with, no, it's good meat. Feed them to dogs. I did like that because they humanised him, but they still kept true to him.
Yeah.
He's still Ramsay, so I liked that scene with Ramsay. But then obviously what you get is Sansa and Theon running away as they were at the end of season 5, being pursued by the Bolton men and the Hounds, and it seems like they're gonna just get caught again and taken back. And it's going to do like the traditional Game of Thrones thing of as soon as they're getting away.
It's like one step forward, two steps back in a way.
But then Brienne and Podrick ride in and actually save them, and it's like that to me was one of the huge thing that they spent all of season 5 building towards. They were just like they were waiting for that. All of season 5, Brienne and Podrick were just watching this tower, waiting for their chance to save someone. That to me was like a big deal.
Yeah.
But people are like, oh, nothing happened in this episode. It's like, no, that was something.
I think people, again, it's just the fact that people. It's been a year since season 5, and also when it ends with the Jon Snow thing, that's the
all
stuff
people were focused on.
And so they've completely forgotten the fact that Brienne, and also not just this season, but season 3 as well. Season 4 is also spent like trying to find Sansa.
Season 2 is when she actually makes the vow to Catelyn Stark to say. I think it's 2. It might even be. It might be. But when she actually makes that vow, so that is like a big payoff.
Yeah, and so it's a multiple season arc for this one character, and it's a character that's I'd say is pretty popular with fans. Not like the type that they get T-shirts of, but like the second tier popular. And it's the fact that this is the culmination of her arc, and like when she finally makes the vow, like she's got like watery eyes. Like it's the fact that you can tell it's an emotional moment for her, and I think Gwendolyn Christie did it well.
Yeah,
it's
not only is it a big emotional moment for her, it's also a moment of development for Theon.
Yeah,
because Theon for the first time seems to be like helping
the right,
and not just helping because he's afraid or nervous, but helping because he wants to help.
Yeah,
so that felt like a development for a few characters there. Because Podrick also gets his first proper taste of like combat and actually doing well. Like this is a thing. This is several characters.
And now, and also it's the culmination of the 4 of those characters and what they're going to be going north now as well. So that's another character going north.
And it also means that whatever's happening with Ramsay is going to be different as well.
Yeah, because Ramsay's going to be
so everything that's like a big thing, and I don't think people have really kind of like appreciated that because all they want is the Jon Snow thing. Everyone just wants to know what's happening with Jon Snow, and we don't get that here.
Yeah.
So what else? There's Daenerys.
Yeah, I mean
that was good. It was good.
It was fine. I mean, I completely that was. If anything, that's the scene that I forgot the most. Strangely.
I think we laughed though at that part with seeing a naked woman is one of the 5 best things.
That was actually Game of Thrones doesn't do outward comedy that
Yeah,
much.
it just does like witty, like Tyrion humour.
But that felt like almost like a skit
Yeah.
in the middle of it, and I really appreciated
it. Was
that.
fun,
Like,
it was funny, yeah.
Especially when they kind of expect like the series to get darker and darker as it goes along. It's nice to get the little, and it's not just Tyrion saying.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like it for me. It didn't like break the tone or anything. It fit
because it was just like these. It was just a joke about how evil they are. And they're like comically evil, and at the same time they're stupid. But I mean, that whole scene was fine. It was doing what a premiere should do, and it was setting up for the rest of the story arc, and that was it for me. And I think they padded it out by doing the comedy, which I think helped it, because if it wasn't for the comedy, I would have found the scene completely fine.
Well, if we want, like, I think if we were going to talk about a scene that was totally fine and borderline pointless, I would say that scene would be the scene with Jorah and Dario Naharis, is that it? Where they're just riding on the horse, and then he just goes like, "Oh yeah, I still have grayscale." Moving along.
I thought it was funny because I was like, because you know how it's just like people checking their watch. He's just checking the exposition. That's the why I turned to you and like, how is my plot progression doing? It's like great.
Oh, very bad plot. But it that's the one thing that I would say didn't really develop at all. No. It was just like, yep, they're looking.
Yeah, good. It was basically like they go. Well, I suppose it was just like set up like they're going in the right direction.
Yeah,
At the same time, like I suppose that's setting them up for eventually freeing them. But the fact that they've said that she is going to Dothrak, like the city, implies to me that she's actually going to end up there, and it's going to be a plot there. It feels to me like they've kind of thought that it's another season before Daenerys gets over to Westeros, which is also why they burn the boats and another thing. And I feel like they're just basically like, yeah, so she's going to get kidnapped for this season, and then they'll free her, and then she'll do something next season. Like, it's kind of like a padding of people are really bored of her ruling.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make her like a damsel in distress for one season.
Which is going to return into season 1, which is probably when her story was the most interesting.
It was the most interesting. Her character was the weakest, annoyingly, but at the same time, like, I suppose now it's kind of highlighting how she's different in a way, but at the same time, yeah.
Speaking of which, obviously there's Tyrion and Varys. Well, like, they had kind of funny talk. Like, they had that bit where it was like, it's a shame that you're not a good thing that you're not a boy anymore because you have no cock. That was funny.
Yeah, that was another funny line, I think, as well. And I think it did a good job for setting up the fact that the Red Priest or something. There's a Red Priest in that country as well, which in the books is a kind of essential thing. Like it's very much hinted that it's an essential thing because the whole thing with Tyrion getting to Daenerys, he's with a Red Priest as well.
Oh, okay.
And that's like, it's completely different from the books this season now, but it's the fact that it's definitely implying that this is an important thing that the religion part is definitely going to be important in that area of the world for the coming season as well.
That was in season 5 as well. Like, they did come across a couple of them initially.
And I think it's just reminding you of that and how that's going to be important to come. Arya briefly appears for a scene.
Mini Daredevil.
Yeah.
She's mini Daredevil now.
Basically, yeah.
I think I'm a little annoyed because, particularly in season 2, and then also in season 4, the Arya, I don't know, everyone says it differently in the show itself. Her storylines for me in those 2 seasons were the strongest. Like the parts where she's hanging around with Tywin, and then the parts where she's with the Hound. Her storylines were really strong there, and I was really she was one of the characters I was most intrigued by where she was going. Yeah. And then where she was going was quite boring. and it feels like she's just sort of still where she was in season 5. We're just gonna be watching her get beaten up over and over again. Yeah, I feel like it's weird that she is. I mean, I said with Gwendolyn Christie's character, like Brienne is kind of second tier fan favourite. She's like number 1 tier favourite. And again, they just feel like they've slowed down her story completely. Yeah, and in that one particularly annoyed me because it was one of my favourites. And it felt like I didn't know where it was going more so than some of the others. And it just sort of... Yeah, it's the fact that when you, like you were saying, with the second season and the third season, like, she's got a destination, she's got to find her family, she's got a goal. With this one, she's just got a goal to get stronger. And I have no idea how long that's going to take. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's going to stop in 2 episodes or in 2 seasons.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
I have
exactly.
no idea
kind of,
where like is she near the end of her arc? Is she nowhere near it? I don't know.
I feel like the only reason that they're putting it I feel like they could cut like what they did with Bran. I feel like they could cut her out for a season now, but I know that they won't because she's such a fan favorite. That's the problem. And I feel like they're just going to keep putting her in these little padding scenes throughout the season just to say, like, look, she's getting tougher, look, she's getting tougher. And then, like, it'd be a cool thing if they just kind of left her now for the... well, not now, because they've set it up that they're going to be doing training. But it'd be cool if they'd left her until, like, the end of the season or something like that, where it reveals that she's now strong or something like that. Or maybe next season, I don't know. But, hey-ho.
So, we'll now go on to what you said. We'll go to Dawn. Dawn, which I mean, I didn't really understand a lot of the hate that Dawn got. I felt like it was very disproportionate. Like people were very angry at Dawn for nothing.
I wasn't angry at Dawn. I was one of those people that did. I just thought that it was almost like they got completely different staff for it. Like they probably do but it just felt like all those scenes were just like the writing took a knock, and it just felt like they were all just a bit like someone else writing Game of Thrones rather than the actual writers. And
but
I don't know.
Here, what they've sort of done is sort of just totally killed half of it off.
Yeah,
and
but at
it
the same
was
time,
quite cool.
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
People argue that like, oh, so you've killed off half of Dawn and. Great, so you killed off characters we don't know. But to be honest, people react when they kill off characters they don't know in other episodes, and it's the fact that now it's
Did you highlighting know them?
Yeah, it's highlighting the fact that now the peaceful ruler is dead, and now the violent ruler is ruling Dawn.
And I did like what's his name? You know, Marcella's would-be husband. I did like his death.
Yeah.
That was a really cool death. It was like, okay, it was set up a little silly with him walking over behind.
That was...
But the actual quality of the death was cool.
I think the idea was that he was just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
But the death itself was a cool death, and I was like,
and
that
you
was
liked
good.
the line after.
I can't remember what the line after was.
Where he goes over to the other woman, and then he gets stabbed. And then the woman with the whip just goes, greedy bitch. Like, it's the kind of thing that you'd, like, laugh about. But,
and then...
kind of the follow-up from Dawn
is Cersei and Jaime get a small scene. Good scene.
I think it's an important scene.
Good important scene. Small scene, though.
It's only, like, it only takes, 2 minutes of the entire show. But I think it's an important scene because it's showing the fact that they finally
they've reached a breaking point.
Yeah. And they've come together, and it's the fact that Cersei's no longer, like... I want to burn the world. She's accepting that this is her fate, but at the same time that means that she can kind of do a 180 on it and mean that she's not just vengeful, like mad vengeful. Now she could be like tactically vengeful, which is when she's at her best. Because I mean, around like the past few seasons, she's just been like, I'm crazy and I want to save my son and I'm doing this thing and this thing without thinking about it, and that's just kind of annoying in a way. I find that annoying when characters just. When they're not doing it in a cool way, when they're just vengeful for the sake of being vengeful and they're not thinking about it. I can find it interesting in some cases, but in Cersei's case I didn't find it interesting. I find it interesting when she's got a purpose and a plan to it, which I feel also works well within Game of Thrones. But,
I did like the scene, the specific scene where she's talking about how, like, she's a monster, but she managed to make this one thing... that was good,
and it's
gone, and that was a good scene. It did make her sympathetic,
Yeah, and again, it just comes back to what we were saying with the Jon Snow stuff, which is that they even they make the villains in this show understandable. Like, even
I like this is probably something that's going to be very contentious, but even there were moments where with Joffrey where like you saw he was just a kid, he was a spoilt shit, but it was the only reason he was as bad as he was because he was a kid who was given too much power. And you could sort of see that at moments. And you still hated him. Like, I'm not like justice for Joffrey, isn't what I'm saying, but like, he never just felt pure evil.
Yeah, I mean, he just felt like a
shit.
He felt like a shit, but at the same time, you blamed it on his circumstances a lot, as well as not just him being... you blamed it partly on him being a shit person. But, is that all the storylines wrapped up?
I'm pretty sure. I don't think we missed any.
The only one that we didn't talk about...
Natalie Dormer.
Oh, yeah.
Very briefly.
Fine.
Yeah, fine.
That's just exposition.
Again, it's just another sort of fine exposition scene.
The one that I was referring to, because we did talk about the beginning of Winterfell, but we didn't talk about the final reveal of Winterfell, which
is, I suppose, the main talking point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why it's become a main talking point.
Oh, I thought it was creepy. I did think it was genuinely creepy.
I thought it was creepy, but at the same time, I was a bit like...
I do think that the Brienne thing should have been the main talking point. I do feel like that was the main defining event.
And I felt like, I don't know if that's due to where it was placed in the episode.
Yeah.
Like, if it was placed at the end, maybe people would be like, see that it was more of that culmination of that arc.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, the Red Woman thing I can kind of get, because they're kind of showing just how powerful her magic is in a way, and I thought that was going to be like, that's them just showing their power, like, hinting at what she's going to use her power at, power on next, like, basically just saying she could bring back Jon, you know? God, she's so powerful. And also at the same time, it's showing that she's, at her heart, just a weak person, just with powerful magic. But I mean, there was nothing...
I thought it was a good...
It was a fine scene. I just never thought that... there wasn't anything that jumped out to me and I went, wow, about... But again, not every episode has to end with a wow.
The music was quite creepy there. And
the music was creepy.
I felt like the whole thing was very well handled to make it disturbing without making it...
Oh, it wasn't over the top, yeah. It was well direct. It wasn't like... Yeah. I think that's
yeah, so it's like, I think the overall thing that we're saying is that it is a strong opening.
Yeah, but we kind of treated it like a recap, while at the same time addressing the overall issues with the...
Which is I think, what you have to look at it as. Because, like, some people have... And I understand, I'm not saying they're wrong, but some people have criticised it, saying, like, oh, but it's not up there with Game of Thrones' best episodes, but I at the same time, I don't think it even is meant to be. I think it is meant to be establishing for those episodes that will be later, hopefully. Maybe if by the end of this season we haven't had an episode like that, then that criticism could be justified. But I don't know. I think we will, and I'm sure that's what it's building up towards.